when you engage our next speaker and that we figure out what is actually happening in your different departments and where the struggles are, the hurdles are, and also that you come up with suggestions amongst each other about the way forward. Can I call to the stage Ndlelentle Pinyana, who's from the GCIS. Ndlelentle is a director on provincial and a local liaison. So we'll speak about the issues. I think even we as journalists know that some of you are under-resourced. Some of us know that you are inadequately positioned to deal with a lot. We do recognize that there's major limitations in terms of resources, but the expectations from communities and media is so big. So let's speak about what is hampering you. From my understanding, SALGA is a support base for municipalities. Let SALGA hear what your problems are and figure out what the way forward is, of course, as I wait for the next guests to make their way onto the stage. So think about those issues. I am hoping to get some engagement from you. Ndlelentle Pinyana? Yeah. It's an important issue. A round of applause, everybody. So,
I left my glasses there.
you can get your glasses. You can go get your glasses. Don't bring the pouch, bring the glasses. I think we must also allow for him to take questions while at the podium. Would that be fair? Do you guys, no, not you, Lance. Your yes can be louder than the rest of the communicators. Do you guys want to be able to put questions? While we wait for him to get his glasses, yesterday I said, there's somebody who raised an issue with me anonymously looking for an answer. Maybe, Lance, you can come up quickly as well and weigh in on it. The issue of being bullied at the workplace. Communicators feeling that they're dealing with principles that make it difficult to do the work. Maybe he can weigh in on it, but I also want you to mull over it and at some point maybe have some insights too, please. Thank you so much. Round of applause, everybody, from the link. Can I also ask for Ndabuko Masupa to come? In that case, then, can Ndabuko Masupa also come onto the stage so we can speak about it? I also think they'll be able to address more on this as well, the priority of communications, working with political officers. Again, that's also a realm I delve in where you deal with politicians, but you also deal with those who represent the municipality. So you can start so long. This big green button is your movement forward, and then the small one is to go back.
Green is small one.
Green is go. Green is good. Red is back.
Well, thank you very much, Program Director. I can't see you from here. Let me help with this. Yeah. At least.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I'd like people to... hold on.
I can see Joe at least.
Can you see only one person? Only,
all of
only
them?
Oh, you can see now. Can I make a suggestion? Yeah. I'd like, please sit on the couch because I want you to sit on the couch. I'm going to join you. I'd like for this to be as open a session and as helpful a session as possible. So I'm going to change things around. You'll make your initial address, but I'll also be here. Can I ask for Des to turn the lights because I can't see. I'd like to be able to see people who put up questions during the session to allow questions. I want this to be engagement heavy. I want communicators to get answers to issues they have. So let's try and make this as interactive as possible with these two experts. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, CD and Team SALGA and colleagues. Just also to put an apology for our DG, Lance. She has got other engagements today, but there is also a team that is here from GCIS. It's about 5 colleagues, led by acting DDG, Mr. Sandile Nene. They are seated there. Just few things that I want to just synset with. Firstly, I think it's important to acknowledge the road that we have traversed. Tsidi, if I were to say here, those who were in local government communication by 2005, raise hand, there won't be anyone. So, no, there won't be anyone. Those are the 2 guys that started the journey in 2006. When SALGA, GCIS and DPLG of that time charted a terrain that had never been traversed before, put up a set of guidelines that have brought us to be where we are today. There were no pieces of legislation before that. Those guidelines by SALGA that were taken through the 2006 SALGA Members Assembly in Durban by both the CEO of GCIS then and as well as the CEO of SALGA then. They have been our blueprint till GCIS intervened through the policy framework. We have a policy, and I think it's something that we need to give a big hand to all of us. Please, colleagues, give a round of applause to that. It's a huge stride in a democratic South Africa. It's the first piece of policy that is taking us one step forward. Of course, it is a working document, but it's important that we start to internalize us in terms of our day-to-day operations. I'm not going to present the policy as is, because I don't think that's the purpose of the session. But I think it's just to pinpoint some of the elements that are worth to be packaged and to be mainstreamed in such a way that they are responsive to local government communication demands. And I think that's the job of this session. The policy was very much workshopped, colleagues. Most of you were part and parcel of those deliberations. And I think one of the issues that the CEO said yesterday, he raised 3 important elements that when we start to think of the local government communication system of the future, we must look at the leadership-related interventions. We must look at the differentiated approach. We must look at issues of research that must inform our strategies and our responsiveness, as well as our platform choices at times. The policy presents a proposal, 1 to 5% of your institutional allocation. For me, Lance, that is already differentiated. I would bring that argument. That if it was not differentiated, it would be saying every municipality 10% flat. But it gives an opening to say 1 to 5%. So we should then start a dispensation that says at least each municipality, according to the size, must find their model of resource and communication within that bracket. I think these are the conversations we need to take forward. I will put some questions for us if we were to look at the local government communication system of the future, now that there is a policy framework in place. The policy once again also speaks about the role of the accounting officer, the role of a political principal, the role of a head of communications. I think my colleague from SALGA Eastern Cape yesterday raised two functionaries. And I think the PR functionary was talking to what we call head of communication, which is institutional based. Then the policy quite goes deeper in terms of what are the expected functions in that regard. The role of the political principal is the overall responsibility of government communications within the institution of government. The role of the accounting officer to adequately resource. The role of the accounting officer to adequately resource. I'm repeating this one intentionally. Because for me, it could be, there is a question that I will pose. As we move. The role of the head of communications. The CEO said he's got about 257 municipalities. He wants to know each plan of every municipality. And that is the role of you as a head of communications. And the policy is saying participate in the executive structures. It's very clear. But it's not to participate, just to add numbers. Your strategic contributions within that space, so that issues of reputation, issues of negativity that were presented yesterday, you are able to correctly advise at that particular level. Once again, the policy reaffirms the structures. It's a huge success for us, the issue of coordinated structures, because we've got to speak in one voice. It reaffirms their existence, it reaffirms. And honestly, we wouldn't be where we are without those forums. This particular forum makes another meaningful contribution in recognizing that indeed government communication is a coordinated effort in South Africa. I don't know other case studies. We have really utilized these structures to drive strategy, to drive tactic, to drive planning. And at the heart of this strategy, of these forums, is the coordinating role of your GCIS DG at a national level, provincial offices of the Premier and COGTA at a provincial level, the district and metro head of communications at a local level. And the other circle outlines what these structures have been able to achieve to date around integration, coordination, and leadership. And then there is a question, should we not have these forums? Would we be where we are today? Definitely no. I think this should start to elevate the M&E instrument. Because I think we like to run to a very obvious point to hide, a broomstick to hide, that the size matter. If the policy says 1 to 5, I think we must start to take the battle where it matters the most. What is the administrative will to respond to that? What is the political will to respond to that? So these are just structures that over the years have enabled us. I would, with greatest of confidence, say I've got a couple of provinces in the country where the issues of budget are almost not there according to the size of the municipality. I'll cite an example in the Eastern Cape, for instance. There should be only one municipality, Lance, that has a 0-0 budget. And the approach that that province and others like KZN do, they work on a consolidated report to the technical structures, governance structures, for municipal managers and MECs and mayors to see the status and respond to that. Now, a few questions for us. On the 1 to 5 budget allocation, is the matter of size an issue? Or is it about administrative and political will? So the next roadmap that we're proposing, I think should address those two issues. As communicators, core teams, are we doing necessary advocacy at governance level to present what the policies say and implement the recommendations that our leaders gave? From a structures point of view, are we meeting for the sake of meeting? Or are we ready to re-engineer our agendas so that they are aligned to the communication dynamics of today? Is it about sharing of best practice? Are there any accountability lines when these forums are meeting? So I think those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. Now, I think there are 2 points that I want to speak about there. Digital revolution, yes, we agree. But what about issues of digital literacy? What about rich access costs? And again, with the global trade wars that are currently happening, see, we don't own WhatsApp. We don't own Facebook. We don't own X. We don't own all these platforms. Should Elon Musk tomorrow say, let South Africa be black from the digital space, what do we do the following day? It's a biggest risk that I hope that commission has looked into that, which therefore means a balanced approach in terms of your platform choices. Now, the other point that maybe we need to take forward is point 3 and 4. What about the monitoring framework that we must have? That take all these successes that we've had to date, and maybe with the help of GSIS here and there, we work up on a formulation of a local government communication evaluation and excellence tool, which will have different elements, so that we are able to take that to report based on that tool to SALGA, EXCO, and other strategic governance institutions for buy-in as well as for lobbying. I think that's where to go. This is just a sample of how that tool will look like around issues of filling of vacancies, professionalism, with the swing of professionalizing the public sector, the appointments of staff, growing our organograms so that they meet the communication demands of today, approval of strategies, annual plans, operational budgets for comms, issues of training, especially on basic media orientation of our principal. Remember, the CEO yesterday said we must also invest on human development. So when new politicians come in after 2026 elections, what is our response as communicators in terms of capacity building initiatives? So that should form part of that local government assessment instrument. Functionality of forums, social media policies, platform choices linked to research. So I think this is just what we thought we should present to the plenary, that maybe in defining the local government communication of the future, this could be the elements. It's not the end on its own, but this could be the means to that end. Something we need to think about, and even as this forum, as we meet, because that's one of the issues that the CO picked, we meet and discuss how are we responding to this particular framework if there is a buy-in across all the involved sectors. But be that as it may, towards 2026, we must not forget that kind of plan that we've always had over the years. taking mayors to various media platforms. We've got to do it as fast as possible. These are some of the discussions and inputs made by leaders yesterday that were already informing what should be the character of the plan or approach going forward. The issue of digital media is there. That media tours and walkabouts, we are going to be in a season where we hand over and launch projects that are not completed. Are we ready as the comms machinery to go prior CD and the team arrive and bring those stories to say, here you were, 200 million or 20 million was promised, but the project has not even taken off the ground. So we've got to start now. Stakeholder engagement. So those should be central in terms of how we plan towards elections. So this is a very important slide responding to what the leaders yesterday were saying. We should just try and plug what could be a takeaway from this session so that when we meet again, indeed we are able to say, this is what we had said we will achieve, and this is the basis of how our action plans ought to be. Thank you very much, Tito.
Take a seat, yeah. Thank you so much. While he takes a seat and while Ndabuko prepares to speak, can I ask Pumlani for maybe 2 handhelds? Because I do want them to engage the communicators on the floor. I want questions around the strategies he's proposing, managing the framework to be put to them as well. But in the meantime, Ndabuko, maybe you can address us. Do you want to maybe come to the podium for now? They'll bring microphones. Or do you want to wait for the microphone? Are you happy there? Okay, cool. They're coming. Guys, please remember, those who've come in late, welcome. Welcome to day 2 of the Communicators Forum. There is a QR code. Please scan to register for your participation for the day. I'm going to hand over to Ndabuko Masupa.
Thank you very much, Sidi, for the opportunity, and greetings to everyone in this forum. My name is Ndabuko Masumpa from Matatiele local municipality in the province of the Eastern Cape in a district called Alfredzo. I think Mr. Pinyana might have touched quite a lot of stuff that I wanted to raise. One being the redefining the kind of communication system, more especially local government communication system that we want, which embraces quite a lot of things. As he has indicated, CD, I think it's important to say the policy is quite very clear on what is expected and what needs to be done on the ground. But of course, as people who work in the local space, it's a different scenario altogether, influenced by a number of conditions. On our way here, we were engaging about one aspect, probably where SALGA needs to come in, as a body where all the municipalities are members of, to provide guidance. At the center of the things that he has indicated to Mr. Pinyana is the issue of content, because that's what communities desire to get, a tailored communication system that suits different environments, as he has indicated on the tools that he has presented in his last slide. But if you look at the go-go that was flighted yesterday by one of our colleagues, majority of us who comes from rural municipalities, their day-to-day activities are towards making sure that that go-go gets serviced. And the majority of our communities are those mkulus and gogos. But on top of that, there was a gogo in that particular video, but there was also a child who desires a brighter future. And reliance here, it's on a communicator who happens to be an intermediary between community as well as government, that they will create platforms and systems. I think that's basically where we should be focusing on, more especially knowing the dynamics of the developmental trajectory of the country and where we come from as a country. That's basically, in the context of Alfredzo, is to say there will always be in a communication system the political principle, because it's a local sphere. Mayors are there, executive mayors, whether they are members of the mayoral committee. One issue that I indicated in my opening sentence was the issue of content becoming key in what we do. The biggest challenge that I am putting across to colleagues as well as to Mr. GCIS as well as SALGA is to say, how do we then re-professionalize the space? In the era that Mr. Piñana talked about earlier, was defining a kind of a communication that they wanted then when there was the formation of these institutions. But at this point now, the vehicle is in full motion. How do we then change it? We've got a phenomenon which many of my colleagues will indicate, where we're going back to a space where there's a desire of a face of a politician occupying the primary space in the content that we develop, and less focus on defining the story Sikakoko that was flighted yesterday. It's a dynamic that many of our colleagues are facing on a day-to-day basis, which then needs intervention from institutions as far as or SALGA, in GCIS as many COCTA in the long run. I think that's the first part that I wanted to indicate, City, in trying to lay the ground and understanding the challenges that many of our colleagues are facing on the ground. It's not as easy as it is, but the push is to say, how do you make communication be a strategic function, like Mr. Piñana has indicated? If it becomes an issue of pulling banners and putting up and taking pictures, that's where then the problem's gonna start. But if you professionalize it at the level of a district, that's where then GCIS comes in, that's where then SALGA in the province needs to step in. Similarly, in the context of COCTA and Office of the Premiers in other provinces where there's a full presence of communication support from the Office of the Premier. But critically, the head of communication at a district level needs to push communication to be a strategic function that is needed. It's not just a matter of saying it, it's a matter of showing strategic interventions that you must provide as a communicator when you are invited and sitting in an executive committee meeting or a mayoral committee meeting. But on top of that, when you are requested to provide guidance during challenging times which the council will now and then face as a communicator, then you will become strategic. Professionalizing the conduct. It's not about being present only in those, it's having influential programs that reshape the message that political principles wants to take to communities in a manner that gets embraced by communities. It's not about us as government or communicators, it's also about communities easily interfacing with the leadership that they have appointed. I think mainly, I just wanted to highlight those aspects. One other missing issue, in doing what you do as a communicator, you do it in the collective approach because it's an IGR setup. You do not have many of the things that Ugogo in the story that was narrated yesterday desires, but they reside in other departments. So it's a matter of saying, how do you then as a communicator make sure that the functionality of the Intergovernmental Relations Forum then becomes a platform where issues that gets discussed at an IGR, at a district communicators forum, gets elevated in other forums so that responses in the long run could come out of that particular session. I think those are the few aspects that I wanted to put across. Let's give it to you then, Tsidi. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Can I please remind you to keep your phones on silent or to switch them off, and to also remember that you can still engage with us on social media. I know that there were award winners yesterday for the most engagement, but we still have prizes today. My hashtags, SALGA, right, and SCF8. Those are the hashtags. I want to put it to the floor now. You've heard a little bit of the picture, right, from a GCIS perspective around the policies and the frameworks of how you're meant to be doing your work. You've heard a little bit from a municipality perspective. I'm looking for your voices as communicators about your experiences. Where are the hurdles? And maybe here there can be suggestions and ways forward and answers. As that happens, I did say earlier to Lance that somebody complained about being bullied. And when you raise the issue of managing a principal while doing your job, that does speak to that as well, where your seniors make it difficult for you to do your job. You have a microphone, Lance, so maybe you can, let's try to get you, can we get a microphone closer to Lance, just so he can give it a quick stab, just to give a view. They're taking it to him there quickly, just so that he can give a view maybe on that issue, and then whoever has a question will come to you. Yes, please, Lance.
No, thank you very much, Tsidi, and also Once more, greetings to all of the colleagues. I thought the presentation by Mr. Piñana is in fact responding to that question. And I do believe that we need to find a way to increase awareness on the policy. And the unfortunate reality, it cannot be done by communicators. Because you are going to be accused of wanting 5% of the budget. Or defining your role as head of communication. The policy does that. But you would be accused of it, because that's unfortunately the space that we operate in. So I wanted to make a suggestion. I do know that we have the tripartite partners here, GCIS, SALGA, COCTA, and perhaps encourage all of us to start using our platforms that are engaging with mayors, speakers, members of the mayoral committee or executive committee, with municipal managers and senior managers. Use those platforms to start socializing this policy. There are colleagues from SALGA from all of the provinces. I've just spoken to Khalil, who's heading up the Western Cape office, to create space in the province when we are engaging with mayors and speakers and municipal managers to walk through the policy. Because if we're not going to do that, none of these things are going to find expression in practice. So it's something we need to work on. So responding to the bullying question, the policy must just be given to the person. It's not, you must just say it's not your policy, but here is the role it is crafted for us. This is what the expectation is. Can we start breathing life into these expectations that are in the policy? Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Those who are curious, SALGA does have a WhatsApp community you can follow. There are updates as to what's happening here, and also just updates relating to SALGA and the work that it does with municipalities. Feel free to go follow them on WhatsApp. I see hands already. Please,
Yeah.
can we get a microphone?
Yep.
Where's
CD.
here?
Behind Lance.
All right. Sorry, yes.
Thank you.
My eyes aren't working. Please bear with me. Thank you. I've got
You
somebody's
must
glasses
get your
next to me.
spectacles,
Thank
CD.
you.
CD.
Go
Good
ahead.
morning.
Good morning.
Colleagues. My name is Tebo Homonyos, and I'm from the Department of Coxta in the Northern Cape. Maybe just CD to say that I love what you do on radio. And I think on Friday, post the sauna, you and Clement's analysis on the sauna, particularly on issues of the white paper review, how to ensure a modern and fit-for-purpose local government. I think you outlined it very clearly, and we hope that things get to be done. I agree with Ntate Lance that maybe the tripartite alliance, GCIS, SALGA, and COCTA, must advocate to ensure that this policy is not a policy on paper, but it is actually practicalized. The issue of the 1 to 5%, I know in the previous policy it was ring-fenced. It has been taken out, I don't see it. But I always say to communicators, it can be in the policy that there must be 1 to 5% of the institutional budget for communication. But it cannot just come by itself. We must establish a policy and a strategy, and then we must do an annual communication costed plan, so that we say, for this financial year, as an institution, this is the communication plan, and we need 1.5 million towards it. So if your institutional budget is 5 million, you don't already say, no, our budget is this. And we go and demand it at the municipal manager, the accounting officer, or the mayor. But we must say that these are the plans, these are the activities we want to execute, and it will cost us an X amount. And we grow it gradually. So often when we engage with communicators, they will normally say, no, they don't fund us. There's no money for communication. We are ill-resourced. But when we ask the question, what is your communication plan for this financial year? Then it does not exist. How should the accounting officer then fund a non-existing activity? So I think we must take it upon ourselves, those that are not engaging in that particular activity, to say, the policy say 1.5, GCI, SALGA, and COCTA can go and advocate to say, let the policy be implemented so that the communication function is funded. But we must take responsibility as well to say that, what did we do? So that when you present it, you can say, no, but the accounting officer, the mayor, the executive authority does not take us seriously. That is why they are not funding us. But this is the plan, this is what we want to execute. So that will be my prayer to communicators, to say, let us take our role, let us take the responsibility to ensure that ultimately we advocate for that 1 to 5% of the institutional budget allocated to the communication function. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. I hear lots of agreements to that. Next to me on the stage. Do you want to weigh in on that maybe a little bit? Or is it sufficiently covered? His point is very clear. I see you waving your hand. Lucky, I'm trying to give other people a chance. I'll come to you. You've been hogging the microphone. I'll come to you over there. Okay, is there somebody at the back? Okay, yes, I see you waving. I'll come to you later. Let's start with you. Voices we haven't heard. That's what we must aim for as well. Go ahead. Please start with your name and your municipality.
Okay. I'm Natasha Peterson. I'm from Sada Bartman District Municipality. I want to start off with a little Martin Luther King. I have a dream. So my dream is if GCIS could absorb all government communicators, thus forcing that 1% to 5% of each municipality's equitable share automatically gets transferred to GCIS for the implementation of communications initiatives for those municipalities. That would also make sure that communicators are supported and that we can ensure that all government communications programs do take place instead of what we are currently doing, which is begging and pleading at the wills of mayors, MMs, and CFOs, who, unfortunately, a lot of times communications is not the priority. Anyway, so my question is, the government communications policy has been there since 2018. I know it's now been revised, but for example, in my area, I've got a municipality, Blue Crane Route Municipality. They haven't had a communicator for almost 10 years. The policy's been there. It's been presented to the MM, been presented to the mayor over and over again. The provincial core team has been there to intervene, but still nothing has come of it. The municipality is now proposing that they're going to get an intern to fill the communications role. So, what is going to change in the approach from national and from provincial core teams in addressing these issues at municipalities? How are we going to present or advocate differently to make sure that we don't end up 5 years from now, Blue Crane Route Municipality still doesn't have a communications officer, still has a zero budget for communications? What are we going to do differently? How are we going to change it from being beggars, waiting for a handout, to something that people actually see value in and that we could actually force municipalities to adhere?
All right,
Tina,
thank you
where
so
am I
much.
going?
I believe that that's a question that's actually aimed at you. Thank you for that. I mean, the idea that they haven't had one, a a communicator for so long, and then the consideration is to put an intern. That's scary. That's really scary, if I'm being honest.
Should I come in?
Give it a stab, yeah,
No.
give it a go.
Yeah, thanks very much. We're well aware, I think the Eastern Cape team is well aware of that situation. And this is where Lance is correct to say, let's socialize this policy. But what is missing is a process to customize from that policy what is applicable at local government. Two, there is a slide I've also shared that what is also missing, it is a local government evaluation and excellence instrument. So we need that going forward so that that instrument could be able to fly into such municipalities across the country, and then necessary interventions will be provided at the level of SALGA, at the level of GSIS, and therefore political and administrative leadership in those municipalities will surely be forced to comply. So that's the work that we need to do. Beyond just socialization, Lance, we've got to tailor-make it. In some way revising the old guidelines, but basing our revision on the frameworks that are already there within the policy. So through that CD, through that excellence evaluation tool, which is non-existent currently, we'll be able across the country to arrive at such municipality and provide necessary interventions on time. And I think between myself and Mr. Greger from SALGA, as well as colleagues from local government, we may have to engage SOBs, the leadership of that municipality. It's been a long time. Honestly, it's been a long time. It's close to 6 years. They are crying of capacity. They are crying of the size. But for some strange reasons, I would say Lance is mischievous because there was a communicator in that municipality before. She left for a position in Gauteng. They never advertised. So the will is there. It's just that they are just taking chances now because there is no instrument that makes them account. Which is exactly.
That is not a will, though. That's a lack of political will in general, if that's what we're saying. And it's also a lack of recognition of the importance in getting people to understand, the community to understand the work of the municipality. You said it's mischievous. From a journalistic point of view, I'm wholeheartedly in agreement. It actually sounds like a story I should tell my team about because something is very wrong there. Thank you so much. I think it's Botswana. There, yes, absolutely, I see you. I like it when more women stand up and speak. That makes me really happy.
Sorry,
Amanda, yes, Amanda.
TD, sorry, he was before her. She comes after this one.
It's okay. We're all gonna get a hearing. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. I see you. I'll come to you. Just give her a chance. She's already on her feet. I do see you. I'll come to you next. I see you. Botswana Bila also see you. Guys, I'll give everybody a chance. We're not fighting for. We are gonna be heard. Please, can you go ahead?
Thank you very much, CD. Greetings to everyone. My name is Baba Loma Kwanti, Communications Manager at Mbashe Local Municipality. I'm going to be commenting on three things. One, the budget issue, and the structure issue, and the third one, issues of access. With us, when it comes to the budget, I feel like SALGA and GCIS were very instrumental in assisting us with the budget allocation at our institution, because from time to time, whenever we are adjusting budgets or we are tabling our budgets, the municipal manager always makes reference to what Mr. Piñana once said. So that very much assisted, and I think colleagues here could make use of that, especially the ones in the Eastern Cape, especially the rural municipalities, to ensure that you lobby on the side, you know, GCIS, COGTA, and SALGA to make those interventions. And then another thing that I want to also suggest to colleagues is to also find a way to have projects that actually bring revenue into the institution. For example, we have now a digital billboard. Our municipality is on the N2 between East London and Tata. So as you enter Dujwa, We have there a billboard, a digital billboard, where it was our project as communication. So we're able to bring in revenue into the municipality as well. So whenever we argue for a budget, we also tell them that we are also murekis here. You know, and then, and then another thing that we also do, this is what I've learned in a previous municipality I worked in. I used to work at Krisani District Municipality. So whenever, because we didn't have a budget, Mr. P knows this. There we didn't have a budget, but for example, if we know that the BTO department is gonna have the annual, you know, what do you call that? Those debt incentive scheme campaigns. So we would sit down with the CFO and tell him that, you know what, because this is your thing, this is your department, so you must give us, you know, money to make sure that we run with this campaign. And he would do that easily. So whenever these departments have their own, like LED has a tourism campaign, whatever campaign that the departments, if you are not allocated like a budget in the communications department, like you must always ensure that you work with them and you make sure that they fund their own campaigns. That has assisted us in the previous institution that I was in, but I've also had conversations with our CFO in the current municipality, and he also had his own, you know, budget to ensure that the debt incentive scheme campaign is well marketed. So whenever we don't have allocated budgets for certain campaigns, we make sure that the department we are working with funds itself. So that has assisted us. But more than anything, you know, whenever the municipal leadership, your municipal managers or your mayors meet, or whenever they have these Munimex or SALGA calls them, we appreciate that SALGA always makes GCIS, you know, do presentations, especially on this policy, and it has assisted us because whenever we engage the municipal manager and, you know, the mayor, they already know that this is supposed to happen, then they always reference GCIS. And we're very fortunate in our municipality because our mayor is an NEC member for SALGA, so he's very much, you know, in tune with everything that's supposed to happen, and he supports us so much. So I think colleagues with that can, on the side, you know, meet with GCIS, meet with COGTA, meet with SALGA on ways to intervene, you know, with the municipal leadership, both administratively and both politically. And then on the issue of the structures, you know, the communication structures, that I'm still struggling, and as a result, I did approach Mr. Pinyana here and the executive mayor because I didn't succeed at the technical strat to squeeze in, you know, a communications officer. I struggled with that because in our institution, we have 32 wards, and there's only 2 people, me, the communications manager, and 1 officer. And you can imagine the workload that we have. So what I did, I tried to lobby GCIS on the side and the executive mayor to get GCIS to come to our strat where he can present what he just presented and emphasize on the issue of the structure. So those are tricks and ways you can, you know, try to lobby, you know, to get what you want. Because oftentimes when you present as the communicator, many people, especially our own colleagues that sit with us in management, they don't see the point of communications. They don't see the function of communication. To them, they will just only call you to take pictures or brand, you know. So whenever you can, you know, try and get, you know, SALGA, COGTA, GCIS, you know, to lobby for you on the side as well to get what you want. And then finally, this is to GCIS. As I said, I come from a very rural municipality, you know, with 32 wards, 3 towns, and it's rural towns. Dutwa is a rural town. Willowvale is a rural town. Elliotdale, you guys don't even know Elliotdale, is a very much rural town. So the issue of access that Mr. Piñana was talking about, because too often times as communicators, we only plan around social media and we are done. You know, with us, we still do print the physical copy of the quarterly newsletter. And you know, we deliver it to all the units, we deliver it to ward committees, you know, and that assists a lot, and people get to see the actual programs of the institution. Now, my issue with GCIS, and I'm not only saying this, Mr. P, because I once worked at GCIS. My issue with GCIS is that GCIS was very instrumental in contributing to having a literate community through that vukuzenzele that they used to print physically. You know, now you don't even see the vukuzenzele, and whenever we do these taxi rank activations, or whenever we go to the people as the local communicators, the only publication we have is ours that we printed, you know. So I think GCIS, COGT, and all these departments should just go back to basics and print information, because now not everyone has access, you know, to digital platforms. And with us as the rural communities and the rural municipalities, I feel like these conversations that took place, that decided to do away, you know, with the physical copies were without us, you know. So it's very much unfortunate that, you know, GCIS took that route, and we are begging you to go back to the basics.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not going to give him a chance to speak because you said a mouthful. Does it help that I know you from Socials, Babs? Thank you so much. I do think you deserve a round of applause because you're so dynamic, and you're trying to resolve the many issues that confront you on the job. That's really nice to hear. I do want to come to you, yes. I want us to go to tea time soon, but I will hear you guys out. There's two of you that are all hearing. At the back there, please.
Greetings to the colleagues, the leadership in the session. Igama ndinguWilly uJongilanga kaMgcina from Umzimkhulu Local Municipality in KwaZulu-Natal. The e-communication strategy said indeed needs to be amplified. As communicators in the district, we have got a very fundamental platform, district communicators forum, DCF, whereby all communicators hlangana khona. But the challenge that we have in the rural areas, is that not all government departments do have communicators. Those that have communicators in the main is Department of Health, that is advanced. They have communicators in the certain hospitals based there. But Home Affairs, Education, they don't have communicators. Which then ends to if sihleli kwi-DCF, because remember DCF is not only for government communicator as in SALGA, municipal communicators, but it should be inclusive about transport, where we share ideas and so forth. Now, when you engage with media inquiry, will you go to the manager of Department of Transport for inquiry media? Because remember, in media, they call you as a communicator in the local. But when you go to a manager to say, give me your view, and I'm not allowed to talk, go and communicate with the province before, I can't give you a thing. Remember, the communities, the only people they know about accountable for self-delivery is the mayor. Whether it's school or not, but the mayor is also questionable. We get a problem is calling. If we problem, people are looking at the mayor. They are not looking at the MEC or transport. So as a communicator, we need to have information urgently and ASAP. But these bureaucratic red tapes, which are understandable by the manager city and the I'm not allowed because the policy department, it must communicate to no spokesperson of the province, then the funding permission. You create a platform for them with Masieni local community radio. Let's come and talk about results. You create a platform for the district director education. Because I'm not allowed.
Yep.
Now, That is another problem that we have as communicators. But the second one, not as a problem per se, is that we need to have similarities as provinces. In KwaZulu-Natal, we have what we call Local Stakeholders Forum, ebizwa by LTT. I-Local Stakeholders Forum, uchairperson wayo is the mayor of that local. All the managers of departments, they meet there on quarterly basis to discuss programs and share resources. And if there are challenges, education, we share up a challenge so that ends will access road towards a particular school. But I found out that this program, or this sitting, ayikho kwezinye provinces. The mayor does not have an opportunity to sit with local stakeholders, but there's DCF, as if DCF is replacing this local stakeholders forum. The mayor is supposed to have the voice. We are not supposed to have much of a voice. We create an enabling environment for the politicians to speak, not for us to create a platform to the media. I'm therefore submitting that at the helm, I wish angathi ngaba similarities, particularly on the what we call local stakeholders forum, so that all the NGOs, everyone else, the managers of those departments are found sitting there, so that the mayor must have information. Then he or she becomes the face of the third sphere of governance in that local.
All right. Thank you. Very, very important questions. Thank you so much. Dabuka, I wonder if you can maybe weigh in on that first one, because it does happen. Journalists, we do call, and then actually the bureaucracy doesn't allow for people, even at the local sphere, even the different departments, to speak for themselves. How do you guys manage it in Matatiele?
Well, in the context of what Willie is saying from Zimkulu, it's a matter of, I think the first understanding is to say, what's the role of a district communicators forum, maybe Mr. Pinya? Whether it's a local communicators forum, the structures are all intended to complement each other eventually, so that there's a seamless provision of services to communities. And as such, there's no disjuncture between these structures, because the sitting of a district communicators forum, its intention is to feed the technical IGR and eventually lead to a political IGR, where these issues district mayors will sit in a district mayors forum, which is probably the case in the case of Zimkulu, as well as other municipalities within the Herikwala area. But then the issue today is, it's a matter of saying, it's not about the presence of a communicator that must speak on behalf of that particular department. It's content collation with the intention to have a coherent message that comes from that structure that says, these are the pertinent issues that are coming from Mzimkulu, in this case is Ikawil. How do we then, as an IGR, develop a mechanism to respond to such issues? But what I also wanted to highlight in the case of Willie is just to say, he mentioned something of similarities. I think it was an issue that was discussed yesterday by one of the presenters. Municipalities will never be the same. Dynamics will always be different. Characters will always be different. And as such, it's just a matter of aligning what happens in Kokstad vis-a-vis what happens in Mzimkulu, and in the process tweak here and there so that eventually it could fit your scenario. In the case of wanting to have footprints of communicators, it's a tricky one. It has been ongoing. Mr. Pinyana, they know. For example, in our district, when Mr. Pinyana started doing the advocacy for budgeting for communicators, as well as having a presence of communicators, in one instance, he had a personal assistant who was acting as a communicator, because the intention was not necessarily having a warm body, was first to advocate so that the communication as a system can be mainstream into the body of administration and politics in that space. As we speak now in Matatiele, which is the case that I'm referring to, there's a fully fledged system with budget allocated. So it's a long-term process. If you get a ward committee who is very good with processes, use that particular foot soldier in your space, rather than waiting for a presence of an appointed communicator. I think before you step off Jet City, is the issue which was raised by Ubra Debza over there, sharing experiences. The case, for example, of Mzimkulu, they could share some of the things. I know people from Herikwala, they have worked with municipalities in the Eastern Cape, Alfredo, where they could learn how best they can, more especially the proximity that they have. They could share quite a lot. It's a matter of just interchanging these experiences and push and see. But what really matters the most is what Tebogo raised, Tsiti, is the issue of saying, if we want budget, what are we gonna use that budget for if there's no plan in place?
Absolutely.
And secondly, you are not playing a strategy. Remember, the resources that we are requesting to be allocated to communication is either a budget that should have gone to a project in a specific community. So it's a competing approach. What are you bringing versus a project being funded in a specific village? If you're not bringing anything to the table, the likelihood is that that particular project will be prioritized, and you as a communicator, you won't, because you are not positioning yourself well, that you are a strategic intervention into the affairs of the municipality. Thanks, Titi.
Thank you so much. I like the part where you speak about uniformity can't be achieved. It's about trying to get as close as possible and then adapting the different scenarios to your different municipality. But Sonabo, I think that's the very last one I'm going to take before T. He had his hand up all along as well.
No, here at City.
No, guys,
I've been standing for a very, very long time.
where have you been standing for long?
Here, where I'm standing
I had
now.
3 hands.
I've raised my hand.
Has he gone
some
out?
time ago.
Okay, he's gone out. I'm going to give you the last one on this, and then we're going to have tea, and then we'll have reflections, and then we'll have tea. Yes. Go
My
ahead.
name is Lihlonolo Mach from Ngakamudirmulama district in the northwest. You know, I'm going to challenge Lance on this one. Because in Cape Town, we reiterated on the very same process. This policy is 6 years old. We are now on the review process. I think it's time now we need to, SALGA, GCIS, and COGTA must give us timelines. Because I even indicated the Tripartite Alliance to say there is a policy, but COGTA came with their own regulation where they indicated the location of communication in corporate services. The policy says something else. And this policy is very clear to say it must be implemented by national, province, and local level. At local level, we need to customize it. I don't agree with the speaker from Northern Cape who says communicators don't have plans. Because when you are in a municipality, there is what we call service delivery and budget implementation plan. All the functions of the municipality are supposed to submit their plans after an IDP is approved. Therefore, all communications, they have plans. All communications units or departments, they have communication strategies which are costed. It only depends on the will of SALGA to assist communicators in municipalities to be resourced properly. Yes, we must applaud SALGA that this thing of dumping people into communication unit is something of the past. Now we have professionalized communication in municipalities. In the Northwest, all municipalities, I can say, Ngakamudirmulema and Dr. KK are the 2 district municipalities with the high number of communicators in those municipalities. But we are getting there. So I'm going to request that the Tripartite Alliance of SALGA, GCIS, and COGTA, they must speak with the same voice. Give us timelines. When are they going to actually communicate this policy? Because I think communicators have communicated this policy to their municipalities. But, you know, maybe if we can get a gazette from provincial MEC COGTA to instruct municipalities to budget for communicators or to budget for communication plans, with the 1 to 5%, obviously depending on whether the municipality can afford or not. So I'm pleading that we must not attend this communicators forum just for attending. We must not present papers just for compliance. Can we see implementation? Can we also agree that it is not only about the budget, it's also about the human resourcing the communication unit with proper functions, the location thereof, our operations and so forth. So this policy is very, 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 very key that it must also be implemented by municipalities. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. So now I'm saying no to you. I'm shaking my head to you. Because when I was looking for you, you were gone. Thank you, but no thank you. I'm worried about time. We don't have too much time on our hands today, so I'm going to be strict. I'm going to say no, Kiarana.
I just wanted to confuse you. That's why I'm on this side.
That's why I said, I'm sorry, the confusion is not working. It's still a no. I want to give it to Lance. I know you've been asked a question. You're going to come up a little bit later. Mull over it, park it. In the interest of time,
No
I'm also
problem.
not letting
No
you
problem.
speak for now. So
can
now,
we-
please, respectfully, no. I
So-
want to now pass on to GCIS to give
Yeah.
them the last word before we close the session. Thank you.
So from GCIS, here, GCIS. Matlodi, we're here.
Can I delegate this way? Sandile, the policy location in GCIS resides with Sandile. Just briefly on what I was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah, please Sandile, come in.
Thank you so much. Maybe before then, there's one thing that we need to correct. That communication is all about social media. I think that's what we need to correct. Colleagues, we have about 520 community media. Out of that, if we count the numbers, we've got about 316 licensed community radio stations, 170 community print. By that we mean those defined in terms of the law. Community print that is independently owned, that is distributed free of charge. We are not referring to the knock and drops that comes from the conglomerates. That's the first. So what I'm trying to get is, to what extent are we committing ourselves that we are going to be supporting community media? Because then it brings the question that Mr. Piñana raised. We are having a challenge in terms of the media sustainability. All media content distributing platforms are not sustainable. Right now, we do, colleagues, have some of the broadcasters that have already approached ICASA, wanting the regulations on news and current affairs to be relaxed because they're saying it's quite expensive. MultiChoice, which is our paid TV, has already filed the technical insolvency. It means, imagine if a paid TV is that distressed. How much more is it for a community or at least a commercial free to air? Because they rely on the advertising revenues for them to survive. So we've got that issue. The other thing that I thought we need to talk about is what happens when suddenly, because I think that's the question that was put before us, we do not control any of the social media platforms that we are so proud and we say we are subjecting our colleagues to. The cost to communicate is one other element, colleagues. One, you are correct about two things. One, we still have areas in this country where ICT infrastructure isn't there. Two, when you are subjecting government information to platforms like those, we are simply saying we are becoming salespersons of telcos, because that person must then buy data. But on top of that, the cost of entry-level smart gadget is still an inhibitor. Because remember that information that we would have posted, it doesn't go to a boss guideline, those cheap cell phones that our old, mamas and fathers are carrying. So that's what we need. So what I'm proposing, colleagues, as we go forward is that we have what we call universal Service Agency of South Africa. It's called USASA. In it, they carry what we call USAF. So a telco, in terms of the South African law, would then look at a place like, for instance, Matatiele. I'm using that as an example. If they deem that that area is not financially or commercially viable, they pay money which is called a USAF fund, which is almost a penalty fund to say we're not going to go there. Government intervened by ensuring that those people are connected. So we should, as part of the Tripartite Alliance, also bring USASA, because they need to tell us areas where we still have absence of ICT infrastructure. At what point are we going to get there? Bearing in mind, colleagues, that we have what we call the broadband policy of South Africa, which is called Broadband or SA Connect 2013. That's the policy then that talks to at what point are we going to ensure that all the areas in South Africa that currently do not have access should have access. And of course, then we are going to take the challenge around how do we then promote the uptake of the policy, because the policy has always been there. So we'll definitely make sure that at least we implement. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. I think that's a lot of helpful information. I hope you've taken that all in. And with that, that's the end of this particular session. I've been speaking about the QR codes. Please use them. There's also a survey. We'll give the results from that survey a little bit later on. It's time for a tea break. I'm giving you 15 minutes. It's about 10:31, so about like 45, 46. Please come back so that we can get the next session going. Thank you so much. Let's take a breather. our way back inside the hall, inside plenary, making our way back to our seats, so we can start the next session. It'll be a panel. Please can we get those people lined up as well? this conference? What do we take away from the forum? And of course, we cannot leave without signing a declaration, because we are all committed here to doing better, to serving communities better, and increasing and heightening the work of local government. But in the meantime, my panelists, please make your way to the stage. Thank you. Can I ask for a little bit of light music while they make their way to the stage? Let it not be somber, please, I beg. We've had a good day, let's have another good day. What does he say? Our panelists are getting mic'd up. I have maybe 2 prizes to give away. Can I ask 2 people, always fastest to the microphone if there are microphones around you. I'm looking for feedback, right? So who can maybe give us feedback on what they've learned so far? Can I get somebody to give us feedback? You'll win a prize if it's impressive. Do you have hands? Do you have somebody near a microphone? There's no feedback, no thoughts? You guys don't want prizes? I want to reject Lucky. How many prizes are you going to go home with? Our Lucky. Go ahead.
But you reject me. Okay. Must I say something?
Go ahead.
All right. I've learned that we have one tier. We always cry with one thing or about one thing. And one thing, the solution is just set again here as to how can we be solved. That thing is that of not getting good recognition by the municipality. And the solution was that we need to get the tripartite alliance to intervene so that communication can be recognized. Sure.
All right, thank you. I'll ask for Punani to spin the wheel so we can see what other prize you can add to your many prizes, Lucky. Punani, if you can spin the wheel, please. I feel like you've collected all categories. So prize 1. Do you not have 1, 2, and 3? You've got all 3 down there. Congratulations, thank you so much. So recognition, and I think our panelists will speak to that. Can I have one more hand, one more piece of information? Yeah, it's so dark, I can't see it. The lady in the pink dress, oh, there we go. Thank you. I need to get my glasses, I'm sorry. on, please?
Hello,
I can hear you, go ahead.
my name is Lavas Maineje. I'm from Greater Letaba Municipality. I think my take home is just the experiences and the advices that I'm getting from other colleagues. This platform opens us to that, you know, the good practices and all the things that they're doing in their respective spaces. Without this platform, definitely we wouldn't be exposed to all the stories that they tell us that we are able to go home and implement. So I just want to thank all their colleagues who are willing to stand up and share their good stories with us. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues, it's very true. Thank you so much. I'll spin the wheel for her as well, Pumlani, to see what prize she also gets. Thank you for that. I think that learning that you're not alone in your experiences is really crucial, and that's really helpful. Thank you so much for that input. Okay, prize 2. Tebogo notes that she's up on the stage, but she's got you. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Remember, guys, that QR code for a survey, please go ahead there and engage that. We are looking to hear from you. So I think I see a spider wave. I'm scared of spiders. Sorry. Anyway, thank you so much. So we will be speaking now, of course, about the future of local government. I want to actually call up Deborah herself. She's here now. Remember, we are joined now by Deborah, Ngele Sivasa, as well as Mekhadi Mande. So to speak, of course, from different aspects. Everybody's been speaking about the alliance. We'll understand perspectives from the alliance about the way forward. Over to you, Deborah.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I trust everybody is recovered. I wanted to talk to you about the outcomes of the past 7 NCFs that we've had. But before that, having listened to the colleagues over the past 2 NCFs, I think it's important for us to go back to why we established the SALGA National Communicators Forum. There have been people discussing, saying, are these forums effective? Are the provincial or district forums effective? If colleagues recall, the 2018 approved, cabinet approved communication policy, section 3.10, it states as follows: government communication forums, national, provincial, and local. It says on local, provincial, national level, coordinating forums are designed to ensure integration, consistency, and coherence within government communication. It then further says, subsection 1, National Government Communicators Forum. The National Government Communicators Forum is a strategic meeting of government communicators from national, provincial, and local core teams, and this should be established. So I just took a subset from that, just to remind us that this meeting was just not a meeting of the tripartite saying, well, let's convene communicators. It was well thought out, and it was agreed amongst all the partners that it is important to convene local government communicators from all spheres of government at a given time. And it goes further to detail how these forums should be conducted. SALGA then went and launched the first NCF in 2017 at the CSIR. Having looked at the various outcomes of the outcomes, there were key issues that have been a trending theme across all 7 communicators forums. This stems from the first one being that there was a strong call for strengthening local government and the reputation of it. Crisis communication came up and media engagement. Even during COVID, as we're leading and preparing for the elections, it came up that we were not integrating technology. One of the big key themes that came up as well was they were asking for capacity building, training of municipal communicators. Another thing that came up was learning the financial literacy. Funny enough, as far back as our 2nd NCF, the revenue issue came up then, where there were 2 outcomes that were stipulated, basically saying our municipalities are struggling. can SALGA help us with revenue collection? Similarly there was another one saying citizen engagement and participation communication, which is another key theme that we keep on seeing coming up every single time we meet in all the different platforms. And then the seventh one was strengthening the tripartite structure between GCIS, COCTA, and SALGA. You'll see it in the first draft of in the first adopted communication policy, and you also see it now in the updated draft that is going back into cabinet. Digital media came up from 2017, talking about the fourth industrial revolution. It came up, SALGA capacitating the different teams in terms of how to deal with media and policy handling. I would like to touch briefly on some of the things that we have done as SALGA in response to the outcomes of the NCFs. And what we will do, we've started putting together a document that documents all the NCFs we've had and then the response thereof. On the response of the strengthening citizen engagement and raising awareness on municipal debt, aligned with the second NCF discussion, SALGA has undertaken various initiatives within our organization, which stem from our cluster, municipal finance, as well as the marketing and comms, where we have engaged various municipalities. We've piloted it. We launched our first citizen campaign, our C-Show, let's say it, where we are trying to engage consumers to say, let's have a conversation with you. Do you know about us? And also raising awareness about the different issues faced by local government. Additionally to that, for the past 4 years or so, we've had what we call our thematic calendar. And in that thematic calendar, we would have engaged with most of you where we're incorporating not only just the good news stories, but we're also talking about key things that are being faced by local government. There's an objective of ours where we call it the object of local government. And in that, we try and raise awareness about from destruction of municipal buildings, setting fires. Remember with the June arrest, the July unrest, we did a whole campaign where we showcased it on SALGA TV. We're also using our own platforms to ensure that we're supporting municipalities. Our biggest call is that we know that people are usually busy in their municipalities. We do a monthly call for stories, and they're trickling in thin, and the information is becoming less. So we need your help in order to amplify our messages and use our platforms. But if we don't get information from you as communicators, we might as well be not sharing any news, because we keep on saying that nobody's hearing the stories. But if we are not sharing the stories amongst our platforms, on our platforms, there's no point to that. We are also amplifying the use of our SALGA TV. Most of the municipalities would have seen, we travel out to you, we showcase your stories. We've been amplifying the stories on revenue, especially from the meters. We've been doing a lot of provinces until the conversion of meters was done. And the capacity building, I had a discussion with my colleague Mandla from eThekwini, and he was asking me, the structure of SALGA, and I said, we're actually so thinly spread. It looks as if we're a massive team. I'll give you an example. One of the key issues that came out in all the NCFs was that we should find gaps, the communication policy and strategy development, support on municipal campaign, strengthening digital infrastructure of municipalities, brand IDs, social media setup, media training and rapid response, direct on-the-ground assistance. At SALGA, the Marcoms team at national office is made up of, I think, 9 individuals with a provincial footprint of 9 people. How we've responded to this over the past 5 years is that we have done a survey. Every year we do a survey where we ask all of you to identify gaps where we could assist. All these individuals, we each take on a different responsibility. So the graphics team, for instance, has taken on at least 10 municipalities in the past year where they have developed brand IDs from beginning. I don't know, you should know by now what it takes to actually put together a brand CI of any organization. And there's 2 individuals within SALGA dedicated to that, because we also recognize that we need to show our value to you in terms of providing support. So we provided physical graphic design support to municipalities who've indicated they don't have brand CIs. And then from doing that, then the team goes back and then integrates that brand CI to them. We have now finished a project with one of the municipalities where we've built an intranet for them. It wasn't outsourced, it was SALGA's resources, internal resources of building a website for them. Additionally, I've sat in many sessions where we're coming up, we're using the guidelines set aside by GCIS and COGTA, where we help municipalities put together the policies. Most of you can attest to the fact that we've come out, we've had online sessions where we're packaging policies for you, and some of them go back. This year, we've gone the extra mile where we pay for a service for media monitoring, and those who were in the media monitoring session yesterday, Jamila would have taken you through how to analyze the data. We are now taking on, as SALGA, the added responsibility and financial responsibility where we give out daily media monitoring, and we then engage with each and every single one of you. And there's one individual who does that on a daily basis at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'm amplifying all of this just to show you that it may seem, I've been hearing some of the colleagues saying, you know, are we really listening to what is happening on the ground? Are we doing anything about it? There's a lot of action that has taken place since we've launched the National Communicators Forum, where we are responding. Some of the things that we're responding to have been physical. In some municipalities where there haven't been any communicators, 2 of our provincial communicators have actually been on the ground and acting as the communication support. And when we equate that as well in a rand value, if a municipality had to capacitate that person, it's actually an annual salary of a person, the graphic design support. So just to give you an overview, of some of the work that has taken place since the resolutions that have been taken from the first NCF to date. The third one, strengthening the tripartite structure. Need I say more? We're here, we've been doing the thing. I mean, it's been very important. We've been engaging with Lance's guidance as well, like as the DG said yesterday, the acting DG said, we've been refining the communications policy, and it is understandable that it is quite frustrating, but the reason why it has not been implemented as well, part of the reason we need to make sure that we take in everybody's considered inputs, which we have, and also make sure that at a local government level, what we've said we would do as well is that take the guideline, the policy is a guideline, and then we'll work with yourselves in institutionalizing it and tailor-making it for local government. For instance, even with the structures, we know that the structures within municipalities are not like what is proposed in the policy. So Nkele and I have been discussing, saying we'll work with Khadima and I, we'll look at different municipality prototypes, and then we'll come to you and say, how do you see, how is it working in your municipality? And then have a prototype for local government. So the groundwork is starting. Rest assured, it's not that there's a policy that's just sitting there. It forms as a guideline, but we as local government communicators need to institutionalize it to reflect our work and what is happening on the ground. It is all well and good to say we must be adopted by provincial and national, but we need to actually make sure all the different spheres understand us and what works within our realm and how we can make our units successful. So I'm hoping that when we take the policy around, you will give it the thought, and we'll have lots of municipalities putting their hands up from the metros, local and district to say, sample us, let's see. And then when we come back at the next NCF, we would like to see you all standing up here. This is a peer learning platform. So it's great to have Khadima, Nkele, and Thiri here, but one of the biggest reasons why we set up the NCF is to all learn from each other. So the next NCF, I do challenge you all to say, as much as we have these outcomes here, come back and say, okay, we've implemented the policy in our municipalities. This is how it's working. That's how we all learn from each other. You saw even from the revenue. I remember last year when Tshwane with Tshwane Yatima, I think they reinvigorated the spirit of revenue generation in all of us, where they were bold enough to say, we know what we must do as a municipality. You know, so we've all come on board with that, and we will implement a seizure to support you. but we also have their own platforms. Additionally, we've also set up some digital platforms and digital IDs for most municipalities. We've been working, I know in Northwest as well, Tutwane has been hands-on in creating, there's a challenge now gone out into the municipalities in the Northwest who don't have a digital footprint to say, and they said they want to use it because they also understand that the LSM, remember if the researcher spoke about the younger LSM, they have a consumer base in that group and they want to talk to them in that. Leveraging our digital social media platform, I've spoken to that. One of the outcomes that came out from the digital session yesterday headed by Kutlwano was that he has various platforms that he's launched and he has committed to that will help for sharing of stories to creating all the different dashboards. Kutlwano can speak more eloquently on those platforms that we have. I've spoken to policy and communication strategy as well. We have been guiding policy with the help of GCIS and COCTA. I've been to some sessions with some of you where we put together the policies and it goes back to your principles for sign-off. This is just high level of the key trending issues, but you will go through the document and we do encourage you, please, where you feel like we have not addressed an issue of any of the outcomes, but you will also see we've stipulated all the outcomes from all the NCFs. Even the virtual one where there were key learnings during COVID where we said to ourselves, how do we navigate this? And most of us were so scared during the pandemic saying, how do we communicate with our constituents? How do we do this? Give us the feedback and say, you know, SALGA, COCTA, GCIS, you're not addressing these issues. But we've also put comprehensive responses to say, you said this is how we've responded. This is just the SALGA version of how we responded to the outcomes. And I'm sure as time goes, we want to build this Bible where when even any principal comes here and says, is it just a bunch of communicators talking? We give them a handbook and say, no, actually, we've been logging what we've been sitting here talking about. We party hard, but we do work hard as well, you know? So the idea is also, one of the issues that came up was that we're not strategically positioned. I want us to go back and challenge ourselves. We want to be taken seriously, right? We want to be strategically positioned. It's really important when Lerato's standing here talking about the municipal finances. It's important for all of us to stand up. I mean, how many of us sitting here know in each of our municipalities what is being owed to us? I mean, debt is a big issue. We should be able, as municipal communicators, say, you know, this is the debt owed. My strategy is to say, this is what's owed to our municipalities. These are the categories of the people that owe. How am I going to speak to those different people to help? We can't collect the revenue. Then we go to the revenue department. I sat in countless sessions in the Eastern Cape with Lerato and her team and the Eastern Cape officers. We invited the revenue specialists in all our engagements in all the provinces. We invite them because we must have that money conversations. Communication cannot just be about writing the media statements. It's how we interpret the data. When I'm having a conversation with CD, I must be able to say, no, those are not the facts. These are the facts. But without those facts, we must also capacitate our minds to say, if we want to be a strategic partner of any business, you take your municipality as a business, are we integrally involved in the running of that business to understand how we can then come up with communication solutions to that is being run by a business. So I think we need to look at ourselves in that way. And I think if we do that, we will see the change in how all our leaders look at us. They say, oh, well, I can take this person along because they're starting to understand what my problems are. Imagine you're talking to your finance officers and they say, well, the communication team can help me talk to these people. But we also we can't be sitting there idly saying, we're not being taken seriously. What are we doing to ourselves to empower ourselves to ensure that we're being taken seriously as communicators, as a strategic enabler and partner of the organizations that we work for? Municipalities are brands. We sat in a brand discussion talking about how do we make sure that those things are brands. And with all the networks that I've had with different parts of you, you know how passionately I feel about making sure that we're a brand. This year I said to most of you that I want to make sure that each municipality has a brand identity where they can say, this is who we are, this is what we stand for. And we must be able to have those conversations. Let's take the ownership of communication to us. People think they know what communication is. They don't. We can lament that they don't take us properly, but we have all the tools given to us by GCIS and COCTA. I urge us all, please, without preaching, let's use them and come back with learned experiences that we can share in this platform so that we teach the next person, so that we can go back to the rural homelands and say, well, this is how you speak to people. We've started translating. We don't have an official translator, by the way, at SALGA. We, amongst ourselves, we've started translating even material just to give value to municipalities. So this is some of the feedback of the issues that were raised. We'll give you a link later on, and please give us the feedback on areas of improvement so that by the next NCF, we're all speaking from the same platform, and we're also not questioning why we meet. It is very clear why we should meet, and we should be encouraging ourselves why we meet, and we shouldn't be saying when we're meeting, is this platform really useful? For me, I find it useful because it's the only time we all meet like this, the only time once a year we meet and we share stories. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tebogo. I think you answered a question that one or two communicators asked me yesterday. Why would communicators gather to deal with issues about communicating and difficulties with communicating at local government? But really and truly, where you are gathered, often there are answers and ways to help each other navigate really difficult problems, or what seems like a difficult problem. I want to give the floor now to Nkele Sebasa, who's a Director of Government Communication, Monitoring and Evaluation at the GCIS. Round of applause, please.
Yeah. Okay. 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 All right. Good morning, colleagues. It's certainly been a very fruitful 2 days. And I mean, taking from what Tebogo just presented, from the lessons learned from the past 7 NCSFs, what are the areas we can collaborate as government communicators or as local government communicators? I like the fact that today there is enough reference to the government communication policy. I was getting worried yesterday that there were case studies that were being presented, and I didn't find that link. People would talk about crisis communication, exactly the way the government communication policy says we must do government crisis communication. But today I'm happy that we are really referring so that we know that this is the basis of how we should do communication wherever we are. Chapter 3 of the policy of 2018 provides a number of ways that we can collaborate as government communicators. And in the revised policy, we've included or we've expanded on the policies that we have, borrowing from the policies that we have in the Constitution. The one that speaks to what we are talking about now is that of collegiality, collaboration, and consultation, colleagues. And not just consultation amongst ourselves as communicators, but consultations amongst our heads of departments, consultations and collaborations among our executives or members of our executive. There is a section dealing with the roles and responsibilities of the executives. And there are areas where the members would talk about issues of common interest, and this is where we say collaboration needs to happen so that we are not seen to be working in silos from government. There are also cluster media briefings at provincial and at national level. I don't know how you do it at local government, but there's another way where the issues are similar, whether they are economic issues. That's where you can come together and work together in a collaborative manner. There is one issue that we haven't really spoken enough about, that is that of the government segmentation model. You know who your audiences are, you know where they are, you know their living conditions, and once you know and you understand what the government segmentation model says, together as a collective you are able to say, how do we, in our communication, assist all the segments that we have, 1 to 5, in our localities. There are a number of case studies that speaks to how we worked collaboratively in our country, and it was a success. 2010 World Cup, there was a communication forum, a national communication forum that consisted of not just government communicators, but communicators from industry as well. Because the message that we wanted to preach to the world coming from South Africa was that of oneness. COVID-19 happened, and we needed to rally together as a country and to make sure that the message filters to that very, very last person on the ground who lives in far-flung areas, who does not have connectivity, who doesn't have access, those that still do not have, they cannot connect to their TVs. We made sure that they too get information from government. There are a number of natural disasters that have affected almost all the provinces, the floods, fires, and we do work together. We may be slow off the blocks at times, but when we come together, we do make sure that information reaches everybody who is affected or who can eventually get affected by that disaster. There was a cholera outbreak. We saw in Hammanskraal, we saw Water Affairs working in partnership with health, with the municipality to make sure that the people are helped health-wise, with clean water as well. The Stilfontein mine, in the beginning, it was the police alone working around that particular area because it was a crime, a crime incident or a crime area. And eventually we saw mineral resources coming to the party and all the other, interest groups coming together, making sure that the message that is coming out of that area is not contradictory. In the beginning, we had reports that miners are trapped, but when we understood that there is no trapping of any miners underground, the message was one, and we were able to make sure that what we say is not contradictory. There are opportunities coming, colleagues. G20 is here already. The mayor yesterday spoke about the bomb squad. Are your provincial bomb squads ready for G20? When G20 Sherpas or whatever meetings are coming to your province, we expect fresh legs on the pitch so that we can show the world that we have been waiting for this, we can do it as a country. We have done it before, and we will not fail this time. 30 years of freedom is something that started last year. We are in the last, 2 months of the project. What have you done? What are the projects that are still coming to you? There will be provincial addresses by various premiers. How are you collaborating with all the municipalities to make sure that the message that will be shared by the premier is received by everybody? When we had the State of the Nation address last week by the President, our PLL, provincial and local government communicators, were everywhere in districts, making sure that people who possibly are not able to hear or listen to the message of the President have got venues where they can go to be able to watch those. There is the NCSF, the National Government Communicators Forum, is going to Cabinet this week. Once it's approved, colleagues, you need to be ready to implement. There are plans that you submitted to GCIS, and those plans are going to form part of the bigger plan of government for the next 5 years. You need to make sure that what you said in that plan is going to be implemented. Otherwise, if you are struggling, you need to shout and say, I need help, I don't know how to do it with this particular area. We looked at how collaboration is done internationally. In the UK, they've got a number of pillars in their strategy. There is pillar 1 that talks about fostering better communication. And there's the GCS, something similar to the GCIS, which plays an important role in supporting other organizations across government to collaborate better. As GCIS, we work through the GCFs, the provincial communicators forums, and all the other forums that exist at local government to make sure that we give you that support that you need. And they say in their strategy in the UK, there are different ways to achieve collaboration, focusing on audiences, that segmentation that we spoke about, shared outcomes and the benefits we can achieve working better together. Openly sharing audience data and insight so everyone is working with the same information. GCIS usually has research, the tracker research, that is available to all of us. If you think the data that is there is not sufficient for your province, you are able to, those who have got enough funds in their budget are able to pay for additional questions so that you get responses that are localized to your local municipality. Valuing different perspectives and listening to organizational expertise rather than pursuing top-down approach, recognizing the need to deliver individual organization priorities as part of a wider plan. And what is that wider plan? We've got the 5-year National Communication Strategic Framework, and that speaks to the national, the plan, the 5-year plan that has been approved by Cabinet already, and it speaks broadly to NDP, is it 2030, NDP 2030. Then creating opportunities for people to connect on a personal level to build trust and joint working. That's what we do better at local government. We connect to the people. People come to our municipalities. At national level, we are not where the people are, but people are able to come to where you are. You are able to do the face-to-face, whether it's DDM or those imbizos by the mayor. Those are very important so that the two-way communication is able to take place. In the US, colleagues, the digital.gov communicators community provides best practices, training and networking opportunities for government communicators. It allows communicators in the digital media sector, it's skewed towards the digital space, to collaborate and share resources with other communicators. So where you have resources, better resources than the municipality next door, please share. We used to have Kaidu previously, where we used to go into areas of need so that we can help. Please help those that are in need, colleagues. There are platforms, there are forums that are already existing. In the policy, we speak about your GCF, your PGCF. In the revised policy, we've added rapid response. Daily at GCIS, we meet to discuss issues that are in the environment that require communication intervention. And it's not just issues at national level. Where there have been floods, we have connected with the heads of communication from those provinces or from those municipalities so that we can provide the assistance that they need to communicate better. They are, all the izimbizos. When the president comes for DDM, it's not national that just descends on a municipality to do government work. It's a collaborative work by government. There are various products and platforms. I'm not going to run through all of them. Key messages, when there are key messages, there is no need for all the municipalities to develop their own key messages unless it's an issue that is unique to that particular local municipality. Designs, if there is a designer in one of the municipalities, can you not share the designs so that other colleagues or other communicators that don't have designers can use the same, concept to create, their own, content platforms. Video and photography. If there is one videographer in one municipality and a photo or videographer in another municipality, share content. Some of these things are of common interest. We've got a Vukuzenzele government digital newspaper. Yes, it used to be something that gets printed, but it will take all of us to make sure that that digital copy gets shared by all the other, or with our communities. You can be able to extract a story from your own locality and then share on your platforms. WhatsApp has given us an opportunity, colleagues. There are WhatsApp channels that you can create so that people in your community can join those WhatsApp, follow you on that WhatsApp channel. You can put all the information. If there's going to be a power outage, if there's going to be, fixing of the water infrastructure for the whole weekend and there won't be any water, that's where you can put information because people have got WhatsApp. And it's mostly the cheapest method of sharing information. We've got what we call Goza TV. It's a new platform at GCIS. Content from your municipalities can live on that Goza platform. We need content for that. SA News takes stories from everywhere. Good news stories, colleagues, share. Anything that you think needs to be elevated, please share with us. The PSM magazine, colleagues, we have featured public servants, senior or junior public servants from across agencies of government, local government, national government. And if you have got this, senior government leader where you are that you think has done something that is very, very good, that's talking about the capacity of the state, I think it's a story that you can bring to GCIS and say, here's a story can you feature this person into our, on your publication. Exhibition days, when we do exhibition days, we involve everybody, colleagues. And that's how collaboration can be achieved, colleagues. Tusong centers, most of you have got Tusong centers. You know how good those Tusong centers have been in making sure that we reach people with services that they require in one space at that particular time. Colleagues, that's all I had for you, and we'll take questions later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asinkele. As you said, we will
You
take
need
questions in just a bit.
Okay.
Please, can I just ask you to pass it on to them on the other end?
Oh, okay.
We'll take questions in just a bit. Can I please call Lekhadima Leso to come? Do you want to speak at the podium? Are you comfortable there? What works for you?
Yeah.
What the podium? Okay, cool. Lekhadima is from COCTA, the Chief Director for Branding, Marketing, and Communications.
I have a presentation somewhere. I'm not sure whether. They're loading it. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Lekhadima Wale, so as it was announced. I know it's the last presentation between you and going home. But where do I point? Huh? You point to where?
Oh, I don't know. There's a pointer here. There's no pointer here. There's a pointer.
No.
He needs a pointer.
What do you need?
Pointer.
I want, oh,
There you
okay.
go. So the big green one moves you forward, and then to go back, the small red one.
All right.
So I'm going to go back to where you
Yeah.
started.
Thank you.
To see if he's still moving.
Yeah.
Push up.
Thanks. Colleagues, government communications, for many years, we have been talking to each other about this sphere of government. From since Mr. Joel Nechitenze started GCIS some years ago, the ComTask reports, I think you know all of those up until where we are now. When you remember the 10 years review that was released by GCIS and the presidency some years ago, 10 years of democracy, there's some phrase there that Joel used, Mr. Nechitenze. He said that communications and the country itself find itself at the confluence of major possibilities. We have achieved a lot, but at that time we were at the crossroads. I believe the same, it applies even now. We have achieved a lot in terms of government communications, but we find ourselves at the crossroad. The road that we must take from here must take us to the higher trajectory in terms of development. There is a fallacy which suggests that it is possible to have a very successful communications without understanding your audience or without undertaking communications research. That must be dismissed, colleagues. It is impossible to have a successful communications without undertaking comms research and also understanding your audience. Looking at our constitution, which guarantees freedom of expression and the right to have access to information, it means that as government communicators, we definitely owe our communities that information about what government is doing to change their lives or to improve their lives. Government communications should then be a strategic and planned process which aims to ensure effective dialogue between government and the communities that it serves. Yeah. You see? Why is it refusing now? Yeah. Thank you very much. So in terms of when we look at our communications, especially as the sector, local government level, usually when I have to do either communications report for our EXCO, looking at the comms environment, I always get under fire because I'm told that why are there so many negative reports about local government? You are not communicating, you are not doing your work as COGTA. But when you look at all of those negative reports, there's nothing about COGTA, it's everything about municipalities. And I will then be asked that, can you make sure that we have positive, coverage? And sometimes when you talk to some communicators in local government, because many of the stories, 99.9% of these negatives comes from the work that municipalities do. You get a number of, issues that are happening in municipalities. But the main thing from the environment that I believe we need to take into consideration is that even though there are those pockets of positives, but majority of some of the coverage is very negative. Unfortunately, it is incumbent upon us as communicators to change that negative. But I always say that communication is a dependent variable. What do I mean is that if you are selling tomatoes and your tomatoes are rotten, people will complain about your tomatoes. And there's nothing that your marketing and communication can do to change perceptions about the fact that your tomatoes are rotten. So sometimes we are told to communicate and make sure that the environment is positive, even though people do not look at what we are selling. Is what we are selling, at a correct level? Is it good? My former boss used to say that you must look at cherry, the car cherry. There was cherry before this beautiful one that people bought. And no one bought that previous one. I think 2 or 3 people. He then say, look at cherry. Now people are buying cherry. Huh? You must do like, you must make sure that people also buy our messages at local government. But I then said to him, you are not looking at what happened. The previous one was not bought, but Cherry went back and did their homework and brought a new product. What product, new product are we bringing forward as government? Is the sewage that is running through the streets, has it stopped? Are we delivering services? We must do something new, as municipalities. Unfortunately, sometimes when you say that to our principals, it's a challenge. I also wanted to give this context, colleagues. We are meeting here just few months before the local government elections. What are our plans? We should have started already having our own communication strategies around this. Just after the SONA, what did SONA mean to us? Just ahead of the budget speech by the Minister of Finance, we are also meeting at a time where some of our municipalities are in distress. They can't pay ESCOM, water boards, some even can't pay salaries. They are giving people 500 rands vouchers instead of their salaries. There are a number of problems. Some municipalities are also not adequately resourced. It doesn't matter what type of resource. But it is not all doom and gloom. There is a good story to tell, especially when you look at our journey as the democratic local government. Some municipalities are definitely communicating. Some municipalities are able to reach their audiences. Some are adequately supported by the leadership in their municipalities. Some also have the resources, whether enough or not. But some questions that we need to ask ourselves. Do we have communication strategies? Looking at the 257 municipalities. Those who say we have comm strategies, are your strategies making use of all platforms and channels? Looking at your audiences, are the strategies and plans effectively resourced? But one thing that I want to ask also with regards to your strategies, do your strategies automatically translate, for the fact that you have a comm strategy, does it automatically translate to better communications? Because you have a document that is archived or put somewhere that you have presented at council and everywhere else, does it mean because you have that document you know who you are talking to? Are municipalities communicating regularly with their communities? Who are these? Who are your communities? Where do you find them? Are those communications or processes that you use in terms of comms successful or effective? Are the messages reaching your communities? Are your communities getting the right information? Are they clearly segmented? Where are these people who are saying are segmented? Unfortunately, those are some of the questions we need to ask ourselves when we say we have a communication strategies. Remember, we are asking ourselves those questions because communities are the sole reason that government exists. And they are also the sole reason why we exist as government communicators. The government is informed and exists to serve the citizens. We also, as communicators, we exist so that we can inform our citizens. We therefore need to look at these demographics when we talk about our audiences. I know that sometimes it's difficult. Gender, age, religion, ethnic backgrounds, class, all of those things in terms of our communications messaging. That's why I said at the beginning, we must challenge the fallacy that you can have a successful communication strategy and which is implementable without having done comms research and also ensuring that you have a good segmentation. I want to go to the issue about now, in terms of looking at your audiences as a communicator. You need to understand the knowledge that they have about your intended messages that you're communicating. What is their age, education level and position? What is their level of interest, investment in your messages? What is setting reality is your audience immersed in? All of those things, you need to consider those. But I like what GCIS has done now with giving us a segmentation model. They have released the 3rd edition of this segmentation model. I think when you look at how they have covered this, it helps us as communicators to ensure that at least we are able to communicate as positively as possible. Looking at this, you must also think about the presentation that was made by the researcher yesterday, Miss, is it Khadima?
Mama Pudia.
Yes, who also came up with some of the nice segmentation and where these people are. But let's look at the rooted realists. Many of us sitting here, we are supposed to ensure that this 49% of South Africa gets that information. This includes the Gogo from yesterday who was saying that she doesn't trust government. Not only Gogo, but many other people who are communicating, who are protesting. Some of them are unhappy because our messages, one way or the other, do not reach them. So the only way, colleagues, is to ensure that we understand this segmentation model. I think perhaps in the next session that we will have, we must ask GCIS to unpack this segmentation model so that we are able to then take it into consideration as we put together our communications strategies and plans ahead of the 2026 local government elections. This also, the media use of segments, I think you will read, colleagues, as you receive this presentation. Why the audience segmentation? It assists with enhanced understanding of citizens, improved communication strategies, aligning with government services, data-driven decision-making, and also maximizing impact of government communication campaigns. So it is important, colleagues, to ensure that we look at this segmentation. What is important also for me is that this GSM is reviewed periodically so that it is relevant and accurate all the time. Colleagues, I don't want to waste much of your time. You will then go through all of this. We might not see ourselves as important, but unfortunately, if we do as this cartoon is saying, I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust the sails to always reach my destination. As communicators, this should be our mantra going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's such a beautiful way to actually wrap up. Thank you, Khadima, saying that, you can adjust your sails. We are fast approaching the end of our session. I had hoped that time would be on our side, that would pick and prod the way forward, but we don't have time. So what I will ask you to do, because I do understand that they will get these presentations, right? And you are always available to help out when they need help. The Tripartite Alliance is always available, I'd like to believe, right? No? Yes?
Yeah.
Asingele? Yes.
We are.
So I do believe that where you require the extra help and assistance and guidance, it will be available. But what I do want to do is to thank you all. I can ask you to please leave the stage. I'm not allowing the time. We don't have the time to try and do questions. But what I do want to do is to call Lance up on the stage. I want to do a declaration. So if it is available, let's prep that. But in the meantime, I would like to give the word to the communicators. I'm trying to cut time and give more time to the communicators on the floor. So I'd like some of your inputs. Lance, if you can join me as well, from communicators. I've heard a few people speaking about, yes, you can go, thank you. Speaking about what their takeaways have been. I'd like a little bit more input from the floor about the conference, what your takeaway was, what has been your lessons, and what you say to your colleagues, to other communicators. There will be a lot of pressure coming your way. We are headed towards local government elections. The pressure comes from multiple directions. Even I'll be to blame, because we will be calling you too, asking for what's happening in your different municipalities. So I do hope that we use a little bit of this opportunity before the declaration is read, where you can maybe speak to what your takeaway has been and what the lessons are. What I've really enjoyed is that when I listen to you, all of you engaging with each other, is that you have lessons for each other. You have very important examples and pathways to deal with very difficult issues. So I'll ask for some hands, I'll ask for some assistance. My eyes aren't great. Yes, I won't see everybody, but I'll try to give people a chance. I see you already in the green in the front. Please, can a microphone, I think there's a microphone, I'll see, not too far from you. If you can just make your way to the microphone. I'm gonna have a very short, brief window to allow for input, and then we'll do the declaration. Then a QR code will come up where you can sign it. Then we'll do a group photo, and we'll have lunch, and you can go home and be great communicators. Does that work? No, yes, no. Yeah? That yeah sounds dead. Yeah? Better. So go ahead. I don't think your mic is.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Good day to you and good day to everyone. My name is Bongi Gatube.
Please let's give her a chance to be heard.
I am the head of communication at Garsibanda District Municipality in Mpumalanga. I was planning to talk to this, and I thank you for this opportunity. But I just want to affirm and encourage our stable. My view, and I'm also responding to you as my takeaway. My view and experience regarding the NCF is that the colleagues' efforts have not been in vain. I've attended the NCF since I joined the local sphere of communicators in 2015. And my view is that there has always been something to take away. There has been empowerment that we have received from attending the NCF. I remember that when we started out, we had a lot of frustrations, a lot of complaints that we had arising from our DCFs. And I remember that I would go back and share with the colleagues that, we learned about Canva, we learned about Chat GPT. And instead of looking at what we didn't have, be it your budget, be it your graphic design, we learned from this forum that there are things that we can do ourselves while getting interventions from our colleagues at SALGA, GCIS, and COCTA in helping us change the view of the communication function in municipalities. So I just wanted to come up and tell you and Lance that this is really not in vain. It's empowering us. And I think it's proof that even from our district, the number of people that have been attending the sessions have been increasing with each year. We will be putting down this just so that colleagues know that even though there are issues that we still feel need to be attended to through this forum, we are really getting the help that we need from this forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that input. Thank you. I'm going to give Lance a chance to respond at the end. So I'll take a few views and then he can maybe say a word or two before reading the declaration. Thank you so much. Do you have anybody else who wanted to share their thoughts? Yes, I see. You might as well, I'll stay there. Yes, Abuti, yes. Go ahead. Yes, go to your closest microphone.
Hello.
I see you.
Is it on? Okay,
Loud and clear.
good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Dr. Gino Albert. I am from Metsimaholo Local Municipality. I want to challenge our tripartite alliance to give themselves a deadline with regard to the reporting of and the location of government communicators. The staff regulations, COGTA is moving very fast, especially, you know, the HR issues, because they are saying we must report to corporate services. Others will be reporting to waste management. Others will be reporting to the executive mayor's office. So I am pleading with you, please give yourself, because I remember we spoke about it last year in December when we were in Durban. And the request, please, can we ensure that we have that thing done once and forever so that we know that where are we reporting as government communicators. Thank you very much.
All right, some homework for the Tripartite Alliance. Thank you so much. There was somebody up front. I'm going to move to this side in just a bit, but okay, all right, ma.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Mamokgolo Mushuki. I am from Thabo Mfutsanyane District Municipality in Qwaqwa. I'm going to talk to actually let me appreciate the invite that you got for this session. It's a very fruitful session for some of us, and we are learning some of the things. So my colleague from Metsimaholo already spoke to one of the pointers that I wanted to talk to. Now I'm going to talk to the issue of can we be given an opportunity next time when we're having the plenary for the categories for the awards. Because in the Free State, all the districts in the Free State, we don't have powers and functions. Our powers and functions are centralized to COGTA in the province. So that means these categories that we're having here will never suit us in the Free State.
You'll never win.
Yeah, we'll never get any award because all the service delivery implementation are done by our local municipalities. The district, we are only coordinating. We're not doing any service delivery related functions. So maybe you need to look at that so that at least we get a category that will suit us in the Free State.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's a different reason. I'm going to come this side. I live in a Kuruleni. I don't know where they are. They left very sour yesterday after not winning. They have different problems from yours. So I take that. I think that is something that they must consider, expanding the categories to think about municipalities that aren't necessarily in charge of what they're doing, but are coordinating. I take that. I see you at the very back, I think with big hair. If you can get a microphone.
Okay. Oh, my hair is big. I'm looking at her.
Oh, she's the one behind you. You'll give it to her after you. It's all good.
Morning, colleagues. My name is Sivengo Simtia. I'm Manager Communications, Remo Mhlaba Municipality, and Amatole District within the Eastern Cape. I was a little bit touched by the comment, or I'm not sure whether it was just a note from one of our colleagues previously regarding bullying at a workplace. Unfortunately for me, I did experience it 15 years ago. I was still young. But I know most colleagues around the room experience it on a daily basis. I just want Chisais to note it that there are colleagues who are dying in their own corners, and it's very bad. And you find out you have trained Abantu, but you're losing people from the system because we have to choose our mental health. Let me depart from that. One of the few things I've noted in terms of the plenary yesterday, I attended the one by Udiba, which was quite exciting. Guys, there is AI. I was a little bit ChatGPT, all the stuff was a little bit, no, it's not for me. I'm still old. I'm 37, but I'm old. So I was like, in my office, I had a new intern. He kept on telling me this ChatGPT, and I was like a little bit confused because I didn't want any copy and paste. But from yesterday, what we got as colleagues that at the end of the day, you need to use it if ever you want, but ensure that you do proper checks. Because it's there to assist, but the way you use it for your institution, it depends on you. So I know most people will say that it's creating a vacuum, it's creating a place where people are going to be like lazy. But in terms of editing, sometimes in the language part, the translations, because for my part, most languages in my area are 3. I know 2. And sometimes I struggle a little bit because I'm from the Siskai area of Eastern Cape, which is Xhosa. Sometimes it's not the Xhosa supposed to be spoken and written, which is I need to respect my language, which is it does assist. As a departure, we're sitting here, guys, as communicators. This is the first time I'm attending it. But one thing I've seen is like we are soldiers being prepared for a battle. Next year, it's national government. It's going to be local government election. Unfortunately, we're one of the first people who will be put on the forefront. And this session is like it's preparing us, or it's reminding us what is our role on every day. And unfortunately, with everyone here, no matter we are having problems, we're not hearing any stories saying, I'm giving up. There is hope in every corner. No matter they are sharing their own problems, you are seeing yourself also that I can able to achieve that, that's a good point. And also, as much as our sphere is very political, unfortunately, we get thrown in the deep, and sometimes other people don't survive. Yeah. What I want to urge from colleagues, there are those colleagues you're going to hear like stories on the paper. Please, can we just pick up and phone and say, how can I assist? Because there's those LMs, the streets, not per se they're struggling, they do have capacity, but sometimes we're a human being. And mostly our management as well as our political parties, they don't see eye to eye in terms of what we are preparing them to do or we are advising them. So if ever when we have a better way, just pick up a phone and say, Raymond, I can see you in your corner, there's this thing, this is how I did it. So that it seems as if it's competition. Because trust me, when it comes to a politician, if ever they see a poster of Chris Hani District Municipality, they send the WhatsApp to say, that mayor is doing this. It's like a competition to them.
Of course.
But from our side, we are complementing each other in terms of the content and in terms of visuals, and we ensure we are sharing the skill. So from my side, seeing Ingosha doing something similar to me, I take it as a compliment because we are an LM and we're still under the same district and we're facing the same challenges. Both of us are semi-rural. So which means we understand better our communities. As a departure note, I want to say to colleagues, let's buckle up next year, and we hope we're going to see everyone in December, and everyone will be in a good spirit.
All right, thank you. First pay, thank you so much. Now the lady with the big hair, I'm going to take you and just one more person, and then I'll give over to Lance in order for us to sign the pledge. Yes, at the back. I'll see with the big hair at the back. Oh, she's then, okay, no, never mind. Yes, I see you. See? And then after her, just one more person. Yes.
Is it me now?
Go ahead, I'll see.
Thank you so much. Good morning, colleagues. I think it's still morning. Glad to be up here this morning. My colleague there that just spoke, Sive, is from Raymond Mhlaba Municipality, one of the municipalities that are operating within the jurisdiction of Amatole District. My name is Sisam Sewa. I am from Amatole District Municipality. Currently, I'm acting as head of communications there. Everything that she has just said is similar to what I would have wanted to put forth. Because in as far as your AI is concerned, we were actually in the same commission yesterday, and that is where we were actually chatting about, this, I suppose, a new revolution of how information can be taken, to our communities, as well as how, as communicators, we can utilize, AI to assist us in terms of, our editing of all our, productions, be it your media releases. It was quite surprising, even the presenters that were there, what they presented. It gave me hope, in as far as, how we can start, generating revenue as Amatole District Municipality, though I saw it as kind of like a dream for now, but it's a dream worth dreaming. Because we are a rural, vastly rural, very rural district. In as far as us getting into a space of, there was a suggestion, in fact, that people should start using third-party interventions, to start getting people to pay, their rates. And this actually caused me to think, isn't it something that will be kind of like infringing, on people's personal space? The Peer Act there, how does it apply when it comes to that? So I got to learn around other, strategies that, AI can use. Of course, I had my own kind of like thoughts around it, just with the one that I shared now. As far as, the rates are concerned, which is what I would like, actually assistance with at some point, is our revenue collection. When it comes to sector departments, there was a colleague here who said something about, departments not wanting to pay up front, and then they had to actually switch off, those services in those areas. For us, it hasn't been like that, but we have been kind of like being held, I will say at ransom, if I can put it like that, by our department or sector departments, where they actually wait until it's the last quarter of their financial year when they have money that they don't know where they're going to put it or how they're going to spend it. It's only then that they consider to pay up, for their rates, and that is normally within this quarter, January up to March. We have done, instances where we issue out a name and shame, of these departments that they should come up and pay. But during the course of the year, you'll find that they don't service, their municipal bills, but they will wait until that last quarter, to actually pay up their monies. Another colleague as well did mention on, challenges. I don't know about sector departments, why, because it's not as if we cannot actually switch off those accounts. I'm not sure why is it that we're not doing it, but we do have areas where they are known as no-go areas in our district, which also, makes us not to be able, to improve from the current 24% revenue collection that we are making. Maybe with these AI interventions at some point, these are things that will actually assist us. And last point, there were different views that were shared here yesterday, where one of the colleagues, I think from the video that was shared by the presenter, there was a lady there that was apparently having lost trust, in government and government assistance. And one of the colleagues came up and said that government is actually there not to, as an intervention, not for people to be dependent, on government, and that perhaps the type of, assistance that you're trying to give to people ends up having unintended consequences where people become dependent, on these interventions that government is making. I think it's the same kind of like problem that we sort of like having with Amatole. We are a district that is supposed to be providing water and sanitation to our communities. When it comes to sanitation, we have, problems where we'll actually build, these structures, for households. But the moment, those structures have been filled up to capacity, you'll find that the household will come back again to the municipalities to say that, look, I do not have, any sanitation, within my yard or within my household. Whereas it is there, but it's a matter now, we have to be able now to offer, that sanitation, pollution facility, but at the same time, we are then somehow expected to go back again, to, what is this, to supply honeysucking, services, for those to empty, those ablution facilities, which I don't know if it's something that is sustainable. I don't think it is. There might be probably a plan or a budget that would have been there to say that when your sanitation has been, filled up to capacity, so when your ablution facility has been filled up to capacity, the district municipality has to come in again and empty that. But I don't think that is actually quite sustainable. So I'm thinking on that front, of dependency, on government, instead of people kind of like looking into, these services as intervention, somehow it creates this dependency. And I'm trying to check, as communicators, how do we then get into that space where we are able, to actually talk to people and make them understand that it's simply an intervention, not to actually make a person, not to be able to, how can I put it, long time ago in the rural areas when one place has been filled up, those pit latrines, you'll find that they will actually move it, and go and dig to another place type of a thing. And that would be used when it generated, of course, for those people that are doing, your agricultural, which is mostly of what our communities want to rely on. So whatever that you would do, they would actually set up to that. But now it seems as if there's always that expectation that a municipality must come back and actually empty those pit latrines. So colleagues, I think I would like a message that we're actually taking out to the people when we do interventions, that they get to understand that it's interventions not to actually disable them when they're from moving forward, but something when it's just to meet the people halfway, not to create dependency. Those are the things that I learned, the different views as well that were here. Of course, I think other people, it affects us in how your view, where you stand on this, it actually affects you how you communicate your message as well, out there. So I think it's important that we reach, probably a common ground in understanding what is it that we are communicating. Are we communicating that we are enablers for people to be disabled? In this context, of them being dependent on government for everything? Or are we communicating that, look, we are there doing intervention so that you can, at some point when you are able to stand up and do things for yourself, then you can. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that input. I'm looking at the clock again. I did say I'd have maybe one more, but I don't think so. I'd like to maybe hand over to the COO to maybe wrap and to reflect on some of the points that some of you have raised as we prepare to take our pledge. Lance?
Well, thank you very much, Tsidi. I will not take much of the time, and just make a few remarks. Maybe I should start with what is always a positive thing. I'm not sure if you have looked around the room, that you are still here. It's an abnormal situation in our events, because quite often, from tea time, people start disappearing. Because we have to drive back home, we have to fly back home, and before we drive and fly, we want to go via somewhere. So we always suffer the consequences of those decisions that you take. Those who are staying over, you have an invite from the mayor to teach you surfing. So there is still that opportunity this afternoon. But the point I really wanted to make is that we had to close our registration when we hit a number of 301 confirmations. Whilst the room was quite full yesterday, it is not as full today, but it is a sizable and a very commendable number, so you must give yourselves a round of applause. It is important to know that as SALGA, we have a mandate to create platforms for knowledge sharing and exchange. And this is one of the platforms we have. So we also organize chief financial officers, we organize municipal managers, we organize HR practitioners, we organize legal practitioners. And we are doing that so that we do create the opportunity for you to learn from others and others to learn from you. We do believe it is a better way of trying to change the tide. However, it also depends on what we do with the information that we had consumed over the past 2 days. So our challenge to you is going to be to try and apply the good things that you have walked away with. And you don't have to wait until the weekend and start on Monday. You can do it almost immediately. And that would be the challenge to you. As for your asks from us, we are not going to take shortcuts. We had people that formally recorded all of your asks, all of your requests, particularly in the plenary, but also within the breakaway sessions yesterday. So we are going to properly package those, we will circulate it, and we will meet as the tripartite partnership to filter through and allocate responsibilities around the implementation of your asks. And we will keep you updated. We do want to stress the point, because I specifically asked this question last week, leading up to this week, is that knowledge sharing and exchange does not have to take place in this type of platform only. So we don't have to come and wait for a national communicators forum, but we must start breathing life into our provincial communicators forum so that closer to home you also have the opportunity to share and learn from others, but also importantly connect with your colleagues in a neighboring municipality, in a municipality that is within your same province. So we want to encourage continued interaction and knowledge exchange in between our NCFs. We also want to make a plea to you to assist us by completing the survey. The survey is there to assist us improving our service level standards so that we give you a better offering. The team that works with me have a very difficult responsibility, Tsidi, and that is to persuade me on certain things. So I was told that much of the things that had to be offered to you are typically things we don't offer to others. I'm also responsible for convening legal practitioners. We don't give them prices. But because you are marketers and communicators, they felt that you had to get prices throughout the 2 days. We don't give it to anyone else. So we are hoping that, because that's what I was told, that maybe you will learn lessons in order to keep people's attention. You need to incentivize them. Incentivize them to participate. And maybe it's one of the things that we must learn as we go back home. Incentivize those. We heard yesterday, Ehlanzeni was telling us, Lucky, how he incentivizes the media. We're not asking for that incentive, but find creative ways. And we are also hoping that some of the things that were on display was not merely just to have it for the sake of having it. It is for you to look around you and say, what can I do differently at home as I organize my own events, as the municipality organizes their own events? What are the things that we could innovatively introduce back home? Yes, we do understand and appreciate that funding is limited, but we must protect the brand of municipalities. And all of us, as was said earlier, have that responsibility. So the look and feel is important so that you feel that you want to be in that environment. And I'm hoping that we were able to do that. The second last thing, Tsidi, is that we know we all want to be winners. And unfortunately, we can only have as many. Otherwise, it's not winning. It is sharing. So we do want to encourage those that perhaps this year did not participate to try next year. Those that participated and were not successful, you know what to do. Maybe you can speak to the winners and ask them, what did you do differently? So that I can come and give you a run for your money next year. So we do want to encourage you. We would, of course, go back ourselves and introspect and see if there are improvements that we could introduce, including looking at additional categories that we could identify for the awards. The last point I thought should be made, colleagues, is that SALGA is a big organization, but from where you are sitting, there are faces at SALGA. Those faces at SALGA had pulled together this event. So I want to ask the entire comms team, the entire team, as they sit at a national level, as they sit at a provincial level, to come to the front. I think we should acknowledge them for putting together these 2 days. Not an easy task. It is easy to come, sit down, drink your water, have your tea, but someone would have made sure that you have water, even if you have to walk to get it, but at least it was in the room. All of the communicators, SALGA committees, can you come to the front? If you don't know the one from your province, it will be one of those that are going to stand in the front. I see some of them are not wearing their uniforms. Colleagues, that's the team that pulled it together for you, the entire menu for the 2 days conversation. They were the first to arrive, and I can guarantee you they are going to be the last to leave. Because when you look around the room, there are banners that must be removed. I know you have to do that as well back home. Thank you. Pledge. So as I had said, thank you very much, Team SALGA. So as I had said, colleagues, that we will package the outcomes of the 2 day conversation and circulate that accordingly. But as we have done in the past, we feel that it is important that we recommit ourselves whenever there's an opportunity to do so. So the team, the very same team that has just walked back to their seats, had put together a pledge. And there is a plea that we all commit or recommit ourselves to what is in this particular pledge. There is a means of communicating it to yourselves. I think there was a...
No, I'll explain it. So you'll talk them through the pledge. Ladies and gentlemen, once it is done, please log on, through those QR codes that'll be on the screen to sign the pledge as you recommit yourselves to the work that you're doing in serving communities. So the QR code will land you on a page where you can sign the pledge.
Okay, let's go to the first page of the pledge, where we have the text. And the pledge reads, SALGA National Communicators Forum Pledge. We, the delegates at the SALGA National Communicators Forum, met from February 10 to 11, 2025 at the Mentors Country Estate in Jeffreys Bay, Eastern Cape, for professional development and the exchange of best practices and case studies that capture the current realities of public sector communication. Since public sector communicators at all levels of government serve as a conduit between the public and the government, it is imperative that we implement effective communication practices in order to advance the vision, mission, and policy goals of our respective public service institutions. As public sector media professionals, we therefore pledge to build and maintain public trust in government and better engage our communities in public policy decision-making processes. Through open and responsive communication, we pledge to contribute to the development and stability of our communities, cities, provinces, and the nation at large. In order to improve government openness and transparency, foster public trust, and advance the government's policy goals, we commit to developing and engaging in communication best practices. When carrying out our duties, we will uphold the values of honesty, accessibility, accountability, and the public interest. We pledge to strategically incorporate emerging technologies into our communication toolkits to improve the communication process and the way government interacts with citizens. As communicators from municipalities, government departments, and entities all over our beloved nation, united in our diversity, we undersign this oath or pledge to encourage the change, inventiveness, and bold action that our people and communities expect and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lance. At this moment, it's going to be a little bit hard to do the next thing, but we're going to give it a go. So the QR code is where you go sign the pledge, but I don't want you to leave. I want the communicators to come to the stage for a group photo. I think it might be a little bit difficult, but I think we can do it, can't we? We can? Your no's and yeses are so lackluster, guys. I can't hear you. We can. Please just come to the front and take a group photo. Where must they be? Up. So some can stand here. We're going to get help. Okay. So as close to the front as possible. Yeah, I think so. So here. Okay, guys, please just come to the front. Let's fill up this area here. Guys, communicators, please come to the front for a picture. Please come to the front for a picture. Thank you. Guys, okay, I got it. So we're going to be from here, from the screen to that screen, and we're going to fill up that way. So you're going to be from there all the way to the first and second row. Does that make sense? So this is your limitation. That's a boundary, and then the other boundary is the other screen, and then we move that way. Yes. I think we're coming to, does this make sense? This makes sense. Should they come into the screen or are they fine there? Okay, slightly back. Demarcation. Yeah, that way.
Don't be sad, don't you cry, just let go of your pain.
And then your QR codes to sign the pledge are on the screen, guys. This code, take a picture. Oh, not this one. Yeah, it's there. So your QR codes, please take a picture so you can sign the pledge. Right? Are they okay like this? Guys, come in a little bit. Guys, go to the back. Where's Lance? Behind the screen. There's a screen there. You need to go behind the screen, Lance. Guys, move that way. Are they okay this side? Behind the screen. Lance and Cole, you need to move behind the screen. Are they fine there? In this huddle? Does it work? Guys, behind the screen, Kenakakwa. Go that way, go that way. You guys need to go in that way. This is your border, this is your boundary. Don't go behind the screen. Guys, Dumelang. Behind the screen, that way, that way. Otherwise, you're not going to be the picture. Go that way, that way. Go that way, guys. Fill up the rows. Even if you're in the row, in the seats, that's fine.
Behind your eyes, see the lights and I wonder why I was blind. Out of my mind, right from the start. You were small in my
Say NCF 8, say SALGA, say something. NCF 8. Say SALGA. To the front, go to the front, to the front, to the front, to the front. One more time, SALGA. Okay, SALGA, one more time. Say TD's great. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Happiness. Thank you. Oh, it's not. Oh, okay. Hold on. Hold on. SALGA. Communicators rock. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Guys, one more announcement. They're preparing lunch. From me to you guys, thank you so much. Go have lunch. Go home safely. Thank you, everybody.